Hello world, and welcome to Breaking the Boxes for Week 6 of the NFL season. A forgettable Week 6 for the collective who go 1-4 in Circa Sports Million. But we got to get through these games, give you the info, and see what really happened on Sunday. If you're watching the video on YouTube, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Listeners, rate and review on your podcatcher of choice, but I do recommend you do watch it as I go through all the visuals here, draw up what I see, and we'll start with a loser for the collective. It was Bengals 17, Seahawks 13. The Bengals cover, unfortunately, as 3-point home favorites. This doesn't even come close to the 45.5 total in the game. The Seahawks outgain the Bengals in this contest by 1.4 net yards per play. They do have an extra turnover, 2-1. So the Bengals do win the turnover battle, and it's 2 interceptions for Geno Smith that are very regrettable. One while they were driving near midfield in the fourth quarter. The other in the third quarter in the red zone, where the Seahawks would have had at least a field goal opportunity. Geno throws a pick intended to JSN, and it's one of 4 failed attempts in the red zone for the Hawks. Of course, the final drive of the game is another one where they just can't punch it in despite having a chance to win the game. 1 of 5 in the red zone for the Seahawks in this game. The Bengals, a perfect 2 of 2. The Bengals, there are still worries here. 4 yards per play, 3 of 11 on third downs, negative .06 EPA per dropback for this offense. I know the Seahawks were coming off the bye, and I know the Seahawks have a pretty good secondary. A lot of young talent, a lot of fast guys. That's why we were so bullish on them in this game. But I still think that Burrow is not fully right, and we need to keep that in the back of our minds when we cap this team. I believe they're on bye this week, so nothing actionable right now, but something to certainly keep our eyes on. Whereas the Seahawks, I said this in our Discord, or bit.ly/Discord Moose if you want to get involved. The Seahawks are very intriguing to me because they bounce back after having all these offensive line injuries. They're able to settle into their 11 formation and get JSN on the field and have some 3 wide receiver sets. And they have some success in this game. You're going to see this negative .07 EPA per dropback here overall because of those 2 interceptions and specifically where the JSN one happened. But they started to get into a groove here, and I think that's where they want to be. Shane Waldron, I believe, is a part of that McVay coaching tree, wants to be an 11, wants to spread it out, wants to throw the ball, and I don't know. I'm interested in the Seahawks. Plus 2,200 to win the NFC, while we have some injuries for the Niners, and while Jalen Hurts kind of shows us who he is in obvious dropback scenarios against the Jets. We'll get to that in a second. Hawks are interesting. Bengals, I'm still worried, and I'm very upset that we didn't cover in this game. Speaking of those Niners, Browns 19, Niners 17. The Browns get the cover at whatever number you got. Plus 9.5 was the closer. If you got them earlier in the week before the Deshaun mess, no worries. You still get the cover because they went outright. And this pushes the closing number of 36. But any other number, if you got in there before the Deshaun news was cemented or before the weather was crystallized, you're under ticket cashed, which, again, these outlier totals, it took a lot for this to even get to 36, including interception by P.J. Walker, 1 of 2, that gave that's fourth quarter here, that gave the Niners very easiest scoring opportunity towards the end of the game. I guess this Fred Warner one, also gave the Niners a scoring shot here. But despite those 2 turnovers, the Browns outplay the Niners. 0.9 is the yards per play advantage. Something, Phillip, don't call me PJ Walker, outplaying Brock Purdy in this game? Maybe not. Those picks got him to negative 0.38 EPA per play, while Brock Purdy was a little bit better at negative 0.25. But we finally saw Brock Purdy not playing in perfect conditions, not playing in good weather. Obviously, CMC and Debo get hurt. Trent Williams gets hurt, but returns to the game and toughs it out with a bum ankle. And Brock Purdy struggles mightily and they lose outright. Of course, kicking is a huge story in this game. This missed field goal by something Moody. That was in the first quarter. I guess they don't even have the fourth quarter kick by Moody that he missed as well. So a little bit more variance there in the special teams game. They do eke out a win here, but I mean, PJ Walker handed them 2 touchdowns, and they still weren't able to capitalize in this game. So we said it a couple weeks ago that the only thing stopping this Niners team was injuries, and 2 of their top players get hurt, and their left tackle gets hurt and returns to the game. And that's huge because of the way they use every single chess piece in their arsenal to scheme things open for Purdy. Once you start having cluster injuries like that, you know, the Niners definitely come back down to earth. 3 of 12 on third down. I wouldn't get excited about this Browns. This Browns is just 3 of 13. Yeah, these obviously the 2 back-breaking turnovers. Each team fails 1 attempt in the red zone, but is pretty efficient otherwise. 1 of 2 and 2 of 3. Browns are a good defense, bad offense team, and that's going to remain even with Deshaun Watson at quarterback for them. So I wouldn't get too excited about Cleveland in the spot. It took everything going wrong for the Niners for them to win this game. Maybe it took everything going wrong for the Niners for them to even cover. I don't know what this game looks like. Everyone stays healthy for San Francisco, but the Browns are going to be able to strangle bad offenses. That's for sure. But in spots where we think that they're going to need to score, because at the end of the day, good offense still beats good defense. You know? I don't know. I don't think we can buy in too fully on this Browns team. But Niners, got to watch the injury report. Those are, Debo and CMC are 2 massive misses for them. Jets. Maybe good defense does beat good offense. Or maybe Jalen Hurts is not good at offense. Jets 20, Eagles 14. Jets cover as plus 6.5 point home dogs. Of course, this goes under the 43.5 closing total. I told you on Breaking the Boxes last week, with the Eagles' struggles in the red zone, they were actually 2 of 3 here, and the Jets' obvious struggles in the red zone, 1 of 4, and the Jets' ability to play defense in the red zone, I thought this was an under game, and we don't even come close to that 43.5 total. Turnovers are, of course, the story. Anybody that has seen anything from this game, 4-0. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. The top 4 plays of the game in terms of EPA were all 4 of those turnovers, the top one being the final one to Tony Adams, where the Eagles really just need to be salting the clock. I mean, what's better than needing Zach Wilson to drive the entire length of the field to score and win? I'm not sure, but Sirianni goes for it. Jalen Hurts makes the absolute incorrect decision, and the Jets get the interception. The interesting part about this game is whether or not the Jets should have scored there. And it really is an interesting one, because the situation would have been if you salt the clock, kill the timeouts, kick the field goal, which isn't a guarantee, by the way. There's still, bad snaps, bad kicks. We saw the Eagles miss a very short field goal in this game. Yeah, 37-yarder from Jake Elliott. Is 50 seconds to kick a field goal and win with no timeouts easier than a minute and 40 seconds with 2 timeouts to score a touchdown against a Jets defense that is really good and an Eagles offense that was incapable of moving the ball in the second half? I don't know. I honestly don't know which one is easier. It's a Eagles 0.9 yards per play advantage, but this stuff doesn't matter. 24-17 on first downs. It just doesn't matter when you have all these turnovers. I will say, for the Jets, we need to be pumping our brakes, because this 2 of 11 on third down, this 1 of 4 in the red zone, these things are predictive. This is not a good offense. Zach Wilson is doing just enough to not screw up, which, when your defense plays perfect, 4-0 in the turnover department, is going to be enough to win by 1 score against good teams. The schedule does get easier for the Jets. They do go into the bye. They do get healthier at cornerback. I forgot to mention that. Sauce. Concussion on Saturday. Didn't get it, but was reported then. They were without their top 2 corners and were still able to do this to the Eagles. Just a terrible performance by Jalen Hurts. Jets get healthy. Jets get the bye. I still don't know how you can back this team with this bad of an offense. They basically need to be the 2000 Ravens, which they were in this game, but how sustainable is that? Eagles, they get the Dolphins next week at home. Sunday Night Football should be a fun one. I think you guys know where I'm leaning in that contest. Ravens 24, Titans 16. The Ravens cover as -5 favorites. That's where it's steamed to on Sunday. This goes under 42.5. That is correct. We've got 3 unders and a push. 4 unders if you got a good number on that Jets game. The Ravens are equal to the Titans in this game in terms of net yards per play, but the Titans do turn the ball over one additional time, even though the Ravens interception is the most impactful play of the game. One of the Titans interceptions is right there. And this comes down to red zone trips and red zone efficiency for both sides. Thankfully for the Ravens, while they were 1 of 6, they were able to get to the red zone those additional times and kick those Justin Tucker field goals, because the Titans were 1 of 4. And I don't know. I'm speechless, because if you had an over ticket in this game, you were absolutely jobbed. The Ravens continue to be a confounding red zone team, despite having one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league, a great tight end in Mark Andrews, and honestly, the types of receivers that can stretch a team vertically. I know OBJ isn't a spring chicken anymore, but I still trust him going sideline to sideline. Zay Flowers has a ton of juice. Justice Hill is a great sideline to sideline player. Like, Ravens should be dicing teams up in the red zone. Titans, man, 1 of 9 on third down to go with those 1 of 4 red zone attempts. Just a very poor effort. The Ravens should have won by a much larger margin here, and this should have gone over the total. Tannehill gets hurt in this game. Malik Willis comes in and looks like halfway decent for a couple plays and gets everybody excited, but then comes way back down to earth, and he's just not a very good player. So Ravens continue to play whack-a-mole. Such a strong roster, such a good coach, such a good quarterback, but tons of mistakes, tons of inefficiency on offense with Monken. You really have to dig in every time the Ravens play, because there isn't going to be a standard through line with all of their contests. Titans, we know what they are. They're a bad team that can outplay very poorly coached teams, because Vrabel is a good coach. But against good teams with better talent and a better coach, you are asking for a lot if you think the Titans are going to put forth a top-notch effort. Did this really have the same score? Commanders 24, Titans 16. Guess it did. This also goes under 42. The Commanders win and cover as road dogs. Another game. It's pretty easy. 3-0 in the turnover department. Most impactful play was a pick. Second one was a pick. And then a little further down, you have another Desmond Ridder interception. Big pick in the red zone here was the number 1 impactful play, right? Yes, this was the one failed red zone attempt for the Falcons. And it really is a shame that Desmond Ridder committed those mistakes, because I guess the second most impactful was the interception touchback, but they were driving on the right outside the red zone for the most impactful interception. The Falcons moved the ball in this game. They outgained the Commanders by 1.2 yards per play, 400 yards of total offense to 193 by Washington. But those things go right out the window when you commit these mistakes. Washington 2 of 10 on third down. It's half the game. Desmond Ridder played really good. He made some throws, but then those critical mistakes, they just set you back so much. And you see it in EPA per play, negative 0.04, while they had a decent success rate, right on the line at 50%. Falcons defense shows out. Ton of purple over here for Washington. They should be on the phone begging Kirk Cousins to drop his no trade clause and try to get him into Atlanta, because they would be an extremely frisky team in a very bad division and a very suspect conference in the NFL. But when you have quarterback play this bad, that is this much of a liability, it is unsurprising that even when you pretty much dominate a team, you can still lose by a touchdown because of these crucial mistakes. Sam Howell, I want to give some credit as well, even though, again, a negative EPA per dropback. Didn't make the mistakes. Didn't do the Ritter things. Now, I don't see turnover-worthy plays in front of me. I didn't watch every second of this game, so perhaps Howell got away with some stuff that I'm unaware of. But Howell has been very binary this year. Either he's marching down the field against the Eagles and nearly winning the game outright, or he's completely blowing it against the Bears at home in primetime for the entire world to see. So he's a tough cap. He's got the whack-a-mole thing going on like the Ravens. So you just got to really dig in when the commies play instead of having one thought about them and carrying that through. They're going to be a very matchup-based team. If Howell can remain clean, then maybe he's more likely to make less mistakes. But yeah, you really got to dig in on the Commanders because they are a Jekyll and Hyde team as well. I'm running out of superlatives for this Miami Dolphins team. 42-21 is the final. The Dolphins nearly go over the total themselves. 47.5. The over comes in. This is the first true over that we've got. Dolphins cover the 2-touchdown spread, and they covered the 2-touchdown spread despite going down 2 touchdowns to start the game. And at some point in this game, it was Mike White. It was garbage time. They had another -9 EPA play, guys. Another massive pick six. So they spot Carolina 3 touchdowns and still win by 3 touchdowns. It's a 2.1 yards per play advantage, which we know is indicative of 2 touchdown win, right? It's 0.66 per yard per play, so that's 13. Yeah, it's right there, right at 2 touchdowns. Bryce plays a clean game, doesn't turn the ball over, but obviously is not as efficient as what these Dolphins can do. 7 of 13. The whole world saw the Tyreek flip. Yeah, it's just there it is right here, the 41-yard touchdown to Tyreek. Look at all this green. They're a wagon. I don't know what to say. And this is with their defense playing very poorly so far. Through 6 weeks, the Dolphins' defense can be had. And Tua is still making mistakes. Granted, he didn't make one in this game. Very interesting spot against the Eagles this week. They continue to be 1A, 1B with the Niners. I said the Niners were in a class of their own, but with those injuries and Purdy actually playing in a neutral game state where they needed something to happen, he showed his warts. So maybe I'm bringing the Niners back down to earth a little bit closer to the Dolphins, but I don't know what to say. Dolphins remain healthy. If Tua remains upright, this team is an absolute wagon. Panthers showing signs of life. The Dolphins may have been sleepwalking entirely, which gave them those 2 touchdowns and then clamped down, but things are getting incrementally better in Carolina. I trust them much more than some other teams in the league. I think I trust them like more than Denver. I think I trust them more than Chicago, especially if they have something Benton or Banton, whatever that guy's name is at quarterback. Again, no, we're not going all in on the Panthers. We're still talking bottom 5 team. But if the market keeps treating them like a bottom 1 team, we might be able to get a big number on them moving forward. Texans 20, Saints 13. This goes under 42. The Texans cover as short home dogs. They put a plus next to my guy, CJ Stroud. What an embarrassment. The Saints are the Saints, man. They do outgain the Texans here by 0.5 yards per play. They do get to 430 yards of total offense, while the Texans can't even get to 300. They do get more first downs than the Texans, but they're 0-3 in the red zone. And this is predictive with Derek Carr. It's a thing that's going to happen. He's a coward. He throws to his backs and tight ends too much. and he doesn't press the issue. This is a multi-year issue that we've seen with Derek Carr. The big play to Rashid Shaheed is the most impactful play of this game. I keep saying it. And maybe I just keep saying it in the Discord. I should put it on Twitter as well so the whole world could see. Why haven't the Chiefs traded a third-round pick for Rashid Shaheed? He would be a perfect fit in that offense. Blake Group does miss 2 field goals in those failed red zone attempts, but even if you add the 6, you get this to 19, it's still not enough to win this game. It's still not enough to cover the game for New Orleans. CJ starts off hot, but then things really did cool down a little bit. He still finishes .13 in EPA per play, but the 42 in success rate is a bit alarming. They really did miss Tank Dell in this game. Tank Dell is extremely multiple in the route concepts that he can run and the stuff he can do after the catch. I don't want to discredit the Saints defense because they're quite stout, but I think the Texans kind of tried to sit on this game, and maybe that's not such a bad thing knowing how inept the Saints are outside of the 220s. But I would like to see a little bit more out of this Texans offense. I would like to see them push the issue a tad more. Could be offensive line issues, could be the Tank Dell injury as well, but the Texans keep trying to win games in this 20-point range. Same thing last week at the Falcons. And they just need to push the edge a little bit. Let CJ let it rip. In one of their successful red zone trips, they tried to run the ball multiple times before giving CJ Stroud one attempt in the red zone, and he throws the touchdown pass. Let my guy cook. He's going to make some plays. Texans remain interesting, remain lurkers there in the AFC South, certainly in the AFC when it comes to a wild card spot. Well coached. Got to get Tank Dell back in there. Got to get some O-line pieces back. But Houston, just disrespect here by this Saints team that refuses to play efficient offense, being road favorites in this spot. Jags 37, Colts 20. This goes over 44, and another game where it just comes down to turnovers. 4-1, and they're all 3 of them right here, right? Minshew fumble, Minshew pick, top 3 plays. The 4th play is a Jags explosive to Christian Kirk, where Kirk was just wide open in the end zone. Yards per play, tell a different tale, though. The Colts had a .9 advantage in this game, and having not watched every snap, I don't know if it's the Jags got up and sat on it, or the Jags struggled against a kind of stingy Colts defense. Jags, man, they continue to have a very weird year where they're 4-2 now, but nothing's looked pretty for this team. Even this 17-point win doesn't look that pretty because it is basically Gardner Minshew blowing it and making terrible mistakes. 2 of 4 in the red zone. Jags 2 of 3. Third down, Jags struggle. 4 of 14. I mean, this 43 success rate on dropbacks. It's worrisome. The Jags just refuse to put together a good game. Yet they have a good record, and they play in an easy division. They're lining up to be kind of like the Vikings last year, where the Vikings win, 11 or 12 games, but don't really impress along the way, and might set themselves up for a first-round knockout in quote-unquote surprising fashion. But you want to believe in Trevor, who then twists his knee? You want to believe in this coaching staff? Confounding, though. But the Colts, we tried telling you guys, Minshew is a considerable downgrade from Anthony Richardson. Look at all this purple. Just a terrible performance by their offense. When teams get to scheme for Minshew, it's not a difficult assignment, and I'll be interested to see if the market gets it together and gives them the downgrade that they deserve. Lions 20, Bucks 6. This doesn't even come close to the 43 total. Lions win as -3 or -3.5, whatever you got them as. I didn't see this get to 3.5 in real life, although it was 3.5 in Circus Sports Million and other contests. This one, Lions 0.9 net yards per play. Bucks have the only turnover in this contest. It comes down to high leverage in that the Bucks were not only horrific on third down, 2 of 12, but when the Lions were converting all these third downs, 9 of 16, I mean, 3rd and 10, they get a 45-yard explosive touchdown to Jameson Williams, where Jameson Williams does a tremendous job finding this ball, reversing shoulders, and able to pull it in for the touchdown. So, but the Bucks do this to themselves with all these early down runs. Negative 0.25 EPA on early down runs. 36% success rate. It's such a frustrating watch. And then Baker doesn't play well. Mike Evans has some bad drops. The Lions outclassed Tampa Bay in this game. And we just have to admit and get to the point where the Lions are a good team in this league. Point blank, period. They're in that class below the Eagles or the Niners and Dolphins, right? They're in that Eagles, Chiefs, Bills range. The Lions are there. Goff is winning on the road. Dan Campbell is not letting these sleepy spots get to Detroit 2 weeks in a row where they could have sleptwalk a little bit. The Panthers, they cover a big number. This one, they go on the road outside, not perfect conditions, not as bad as the weather was predicting, but they get the job done. And we just need to start recognizing that and start capping for that. Because the Lions are a good team. The Bucks, we know what they are. Veteran team, poorly coached. If they're catching big numbers, they're going to be interesting. If they can keep Baker healthy and upright, they're going to be interesting. But Baker was under a bit of pressure in this game. And they played a good team. That's not when you're going to want to bet on Tampa Bay. You're going to want to bet on Tampa Bay when they're playing other bad teams or mediocre teams in this league. But not this spot. This is a bad spot. Unfortunately, we had them on the card. Rams 26, Cardinals 9. Another one. Very unfortunate we had this on the card. This goes well under the total of 47.5. Rams cover as touchdown favorites at home. And the Cardinals, I mean, if you look at the normal box and it tells you the Cardinals got to halftime with a lead, you might think they had a chance in this game. They never had a chance in this game. Never had a chance. 2.2 net yards per play in favor of the Rams. Again, that's indicative of a 2-touchdown game. The Rams win the turnover battle. The Cardinals turned the ball over twice. In the red zone? No, one was in the red zone. The other was near midfield. Cardinals 0 of 3 in the red zone. I think this is predictive when you have a quarterback as suspect as Dobbs and a hurt running back and just a poor offensive line. Just a poor team. Rams 2 of 5 in the red zone. Is this starting to become predictive? I remember the Bengals game a couple weeks ago where they outgained the Bengals by 1.4 on the road there. And they were putrid in the red zone, 1 of 4. Are they? Interesting. That's an interesting one because this next game against the Steelers, I kind of want to love the Rams, but if these red zone issues are more predictive than I think, it might cool my love for them. But Rams, solid on offense. 0.12 EPA per drop back. Cardinals stink, guys. Look at all this purple. They've been bad all year. They've just showed a lot of effort. But they are the bottom 3 team that everyone thought they were going to be coming into the year. And the Cowboys slept walk in a spot against them. Got beat. It's pro football. It happens. Cowboys sleepwalking. That happens. And I think we need to put that game all the way back in our rearview mirror because this is a horrendous football team. And they could be making some deals to sell some players closer to the deadline that makes them even worse. The Rams I continue to be interested in with this offense, but they are suspect in the trenches, and they are suspect on defense, which wasn't a factor in this game because the Cardinals are just so bad. So I can't buy the Rams as much as I want to buy the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are more talented across the board, but I still am interested in the Rams because passing offense matters. And with Nakua and Kupp, the Rams have passing offense in spades. Boy, oh boy. Raiders 21, Pats 17. We don't get the cover in this game because Mac Jones is sacked in the end zone for a safety. I can't find it. I don't even want to find it. I'm disgusted by this game. We didn't deserve a cover probably because this was a slobber knocker. 0.8 in favor of the Raiders with Brian Hoyer taking a large amount of snaps in this game. The Raiders make 6 trips to the red zone and are only able to score 1 touchdown. We probably didn't deserve a cover here. Patriots perfect in the red zone. Again, I've said this multiple weeks now. I think this is predictive with their strength being at tight end. So that's not surprising to me. But yeah, Mac Jones throws another bad pick. Here it is, most impactful play of the game. In the red zone, or outside of the red zone, entering the red zone. What an annoying game, because the Raiders are such a poor team. Brian Hoyer comes in. He's an absolute statue back there, and you're still giving up explosive plays. Something Hoyer to something Tucker for 48-yard plays. Come on, Bill. Got to be doing better than that. But they couldn't let us escape with one, eh? They couldn't let us get a cover. Mac Jones had to get sacked in the end zone by Max Crosby there. What do we do with the Raiders? 3-3. Good weapons. Defense that can generate a pass rush. I guess Crosby's elite, but the other players aren't that great. But now you've got this Jimmy G injury, something Hoyer. I don't know what to do with this Raiders team. I still want to keep selling them, but it's 2 weeks in a row they've stuffed it in my face. Granted, 2 weeks in a row at home. Not that I'm saying there's a home field advantage in terms of fans, but maybe some Vegas flu. Maybe some guys enjoying themselves on this trip a little bit and not being fully focused for the game. The Patriots are as bad as advertised. And I don't think, again, these Judon and Gonzalez injuries have fully come home to roost yet because they still haven't played a very good passing offense. So it could get worse for New England, as crazy as that sounds. Speaking of it could get worse, Vikings 19, Bears 13. Another game where it's not even close. This goes way under the 44.5. Vikings cover, but I am very, very concerned about this game because they only get to 4 yards per play and are outgained by 0.2 against a team in the Bears that hasn't been good all year, and then something called Badgent came in and played snaps. The Vikings win because of turnovers, 3-1. Something Badgent here has a fumble 6, which is the contest. Something Badgent also has an interception here. But this Vikings offense without Justin Jefferson is going to be a problem. I know Eddie Jackson was back in this game for the Bears, although I think he got hurt again. 0.18 EPA per play on passing downs, passing plays is not acceptable. 41 success rate on passing plays against the Bears is not acceptable. The Vikings are in deep, deep shit. And I honestly think they should be going full tank right now because nothing is going to happen this season. If Jefferson doesn't want to come back, wants to just chill and get healthy and make sure he gets his contract. And there are several good quarterbacks, according to unprofessional people, that will be coming out in the draft this year. Someone's got to get to Kirk Cousins and tell him about Atlanta. And he could have, I don't know, give him some stock in Coca-Cola or something, because it's the most beneficial thing for both parties, because the Vikings are not going to have a success on offense without Justin Jefferson. We said it on the normal pod. 40% of their passing offense last year went through Justin Jefferson. Addison is a kid. He's still learning. Osborne is just not it. They refuse to run the ball. And when they do, it's ineptitude abound. 2.1 yards per rush. Sell the Vikings. This is a spot next week where they're home to the Niners, where rule of Brett, I hope we get a really iffy injury report for the Niners. I hope Debo and CMC both miss, because I think the Niners B squad could roll. Like, get Sam Darnold in there, and I think they still roll. Vikings team are in trouble. The Bears, bad team. They might be the worst team in football if something Bagent is their quarterback. Sounds like a dislocated finger for Justin Fields. I don't know what that means on his throwing hand. Can he play through it? Can he gut through a dislocated finger? I don't know. We'll have to stay tuned for that. If anything, maybe it makes Chicago run the ball with him a little bit more, which they should be doing already. And then an absolute thrilling snoozer on Sunday night. Bills 14, Giants 9. It's hard to go over a total of 43.5. Well, it's impossible when the winner has 14 points. It's definitely impossible to cover by 15 when you don't even score 15 points in the game. An ugly affair in Orchard Park where the Bills do outgain the Giants by 0.7 yards per play. This red zone, man. You see me scratching my head. 0 of 5 for the Giants. A perfect 2 of 2 for the Bills. Some special stuff from the Giants in the red zone. At the end of the first half, Tyrod, he checks to a run play with no timeouts and then is looking at the sideline while the clock expires. When if they kick a field goal there, the end of the game could have been more interesting, but of course a butterfly flaps its wings. Who knows? Things could have been completely different. Bills, the only 2 turnovers in the game. That's why this game was even close. Gabe Davis fumble. Interception from Josh Allen. I'm very concerned about the Bills. Okay? Minus 0.05 EPA per dropback against the Giants. The Bills defense hurt. Did not look great against the Giants. I mean, this should not be squeaky against a depleted Giants roster that wasn't even talented to begin with. I know it was a revenge spot for Daboll and a revenge spot for Ty God. Got to be doing better here. Very concerned about Buffalo. Giants, I don't know what to think about this team. Annoying spot. Any other team here, I think we would have been all over them in the contest with this big number, with the Bills coming back from London so injured. And I guess they do enough to get it done here because of the turnovers, but I don't know. This is just a very strange game. And what can we learn about this game? I think what we can learn about this game is Daboll is sneakily in trouble for his job, perhaps, where I think that might be incorrect. And I think the team that lands Daboll with an actual NFL roster and an actual quarterback that meets the threshold in this league could be very interesting. I think he's definitely, unlike someone like Adam Gase, deserving of a second chance at being a head coach in this league, or like Cliff Kingsbury. Like, imagine if Daboll had that Cardinals offense when Kyler was upright. I think it would have looked much better than when Cliff was in charge. But with this roster, Giants, man, we got to be looking to selling this team. But this is, again, another annoying spot this week where the Commanders are going to be coming in as field goal favorites. And you guys know one of the Cardinals' sins of betting pro football. Never lay points with a bad team, let alone a bad team on the road. And we've seen this before, this exact matchup, Washington at New York. I think you might have to just hold your nose and pray that, one, Ty God is playing, because he just might be better than Daniel Jones, and that Daboll can get it done. Week 6, in the books. That's what really happened. We'll get you our card on Thursday, week 7. Donnie will recap the contests on the feed as well. And we'll keep things churning here at Gridiron Gamble Central. Peace out.